Hey, everyone. Welcome to the recap of the Walking Dead universe. We are here every week to discuss the latest episodes. Today is pre recorded, but you can still catch our recaps anytime on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and more. Subscribe for free in the app of your choice or even on YouTube. Let's see. I already lost my spot because I don't have my regular verbiage. Joining me is show co host Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, Tamara. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author and I am also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture. So
Yes.
I can't wait to be talking about tonight's episode. But if you'd like to find me online, I can be found pretty much everywhere at Lisa Orban Author.
Alrighty. And I did not introduce myself. I am Tamara Ford, and I love a good TV show and a good book as always. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Recap Pods. And if you're into books, you can also find me at Shelf Addiction. And of course, obviously, I am still hoarse from last week. That has not changed.
And a little
Sorry.
discombobulated, I can tell. You know,
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's a lot going on here today.
I understand.
I managed to pull my shit together to get on this podcast, so there's that.
There is that, and, we're normally, we're live, we've had to change up the intro a little bit, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
miss all of our fans and all of our listeners that, participate. I'm gonna miss you guys. Next
I
week,
know,
next
without
week.
those comments, right?
I know.
Well, so even though we are not live, we still want your participation. So if you are listening later on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, you can hit us up in the comments section. And if you're listening on a podcast app, you can always, email us or use the Spreaker voicemail in or speak pipe voicemail rather in the show notes. So
Mm,
yeah, you can still talk to us even though we're not live today.
yep, and there's always next week. We will be live next week.
Yes. So if you are brand new here, welcome, welcome. We just want to let you know that we are chill and laid back in our review style, aren't we?
Absolutely, Tamara. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Yes. So no scene by scene breakdowns, any of that, snooty stuff. But we jump around and huge spoiler alert for everything through this past weekend's episode.
That's right, and it's across all the Walking Dead universe. You know,
Yes.
while we're talking about, 2 different, shows tonight, I mean, that doesn't mean that we won't talk about other things.
Right. So don't be surprised if we get off topic. That's been known to happen, but we
Uh,
come back around.
a time or 2 maybe, I don't know.
Mm, I know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Episode 3, Fear the Walking Dead, season 7.
Mm,
Did you love it?
I did actually. I watching June with her, I guess, father-in-law, I mean, since they were technically, she was technically married to John Dory. Trapped in this there's school buses. Did you notice that? Those are school buses down there.
Yeah. Like, how do you get those buried?
There's actually a guy out west that's done this. He's buried, like, 26 school buses in a circle, and that's his, restart for when civilization falls. But anyway,
Wow.
but yeah, so I was pretty interested. I'm like, "Oh my god, they, nice." Um, but, you could see the differences, I mean, the first couple of days, everything's going fine, and you can see June's just kinda cruising along, but John's getting a little stir crazy,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And then, of course, when I don't even know what that was. Was that an earthquake? Or whatever it was that caused everything to shake and the shelves to crash, and then we find
Yeah, I
out
don't
that
know. They didn't
I
really, I don't think, explain what the cause of that was.
Yeah, I just assumed. I mean, although Texas doesn't really have earthquakes as far as I know, but something happened that made the world shake
Mhm.
for him. And when all the booze was lost, we found out that John Dory had been pretty much a secret alcoholic for a very long time.
Yeah. Several months. I mean, well, before that and now even after the fact when all the booze hit the ground. Oh, trouble, trouble.
Mhm.
His
So,
stash.
you know, and I gotta tell you, as soon as I found out that he was an alcoholic and everything, when everything else started happening, when they found the other bus, when all the people showed up, at first I thought, is he just hallucinating this whole thing?
Mm,
Because when alcoholic, DTs, I mean, they're the worst,
yeah,
they really are. And I mean, you can hallucinate and, all sorts of different withdrawal symptoms. So at first I thought, huh, I wonder if that second bus was even found. I wonder if I wondered at first I wondered if the whole thing was just a hallucination. And we both know that this is not something this is something they have done before, you
right.
know, like with Athena, the
Yeah.
birth of Athena. And now if they hadn't done that, I don't think I would have thought it, but since they had gone that route with Athena, I thought, well, maybe this whole thing is just him being delusional. It's all
Yeah,
taking place in his head.
I guess that could have been possible, but I didn't think of that because June was like an active participant in that. When in the other parts where he was hallucinating, she's like, "What? Who are you talking to? What are you look? What are you doing?" She's like opposing him while he's doing these other things
Well,
instead of participating.
I guess what it was for me, it was when he tried to wake June up, she didn't wake up,
Mhm.
which, with them living, like they have been for so long, I'm sorry, I can't imagine anybody being that heavy of a sleeper. When someone's shaking you and calling your name and you're not waking up,
Yeah.
so I thought, okay, that's kind of weird. And and the thing of it is he just as easily could have been hallucinating June, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Yeah, technically he could have, I guess, but
Yeah, so that's really why at first because something I don't know, it seemed like some of the things in this episode just didn't quite add up, including the ending to me, did not quite add up, but that's neither we can get to that later.
okay.
Um, but I did enjoy it. It was kind of interesting watching him trying to sort through what was reality and what was not,
Mhm.
and the fact that, again, John Dory decided that, finding a victim, getting the killer became more important than anything else. Them
Which is
staying
not good.
No.
I I found that very frustrating about his character because
Mhm.
even if, he had extreme guilt over that, dude, where the fuck are you gonna go? Like, when
Yeah,
he got up there, he's like, "Which way? Fool, have you not thought of that? Like, the roads aren't marked. Shit's messed up. Like, where do you
right.
think you're gonna go? That makes no sense."
Well, not to mention the fact that, honestly, at this point, everything's buried, okay? When you give her a
Mhm.
proper burial. There is no proper burial anymore.
Right.
I mean, I can understand his wanting to know, that being kind of a curiosity at this point. I could see maybe going through the notes to see if maybe he could kinda, piece it together as something as a
Mhm.
distraction, but to
Right.
actually wanna go out and look for the body, to become the detective again, to be on the case, and you can tell that that's it was that kind of a drive that is the reason that, John Dory Sr. left his son and wife,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because the case for him seems to always come before any other considerations, which
I
is really
agree,
kinda
and I think
sad.
that is sad, and if I were June, I'd feel a way about that. Like, "Are you seriously doing this right now? Like, we got a problem. We got a bigger problem if you're really
Mhm.
just gonna take off and leave me
Yeah,
to go search for some random chick that's been dead longer than the apocalypse has been happening."
exactly.
So
I mean, and who is he going to comfort with this knowledge, even if he had found her?
mhm.
I mean, there's no mother anymore, there's no family, there's n the Teddy who orchestrated the whole thing is a vaporized yuck, you know? Um, there's nothing there to find out who did this. There's no reason to find I mean, or there's no reason to find the body anymore. The
Yeah,
the the
outside of his
entire
own
world is a
personal
graveyard.
satisfaction. Right.
Yeah, because the entire world's a graveyard, you know?
Yeah, I do know.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, this is, DTs are not this you could tell that this was an obsession, you
He
know?
was obsessed before, if you remember, like, what he went through with his son,
Yeah.
This is like not new to his personality at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was really kinda sad, because and you could see that June was content to be where she was at that time. And
Yeah.
they touch on that later. He's like, "Why did you come up with this number of days?" And so on and so forth. And, she told, "I lied. I wanted to stay here." But the fact is as long as the place was upright, and if he hadn't have done what he did, which, you know, ended up bringing the whole place down, they could have stayed there safely, at least for a little while longer, because it really isn't safe for them to be out there. It's not good. They don't know how much they don't have a Geiger counter, for God's sakes. They have
Right.
no idea how much radiation they're being exposed to.
With their little makeshift
Garbage
suits that
bags.
could do nothing at all.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that he was going so hysterical. How did you come up with these numbers? What book did you read? Where did you find this? Honestly, I thought the year mark was about right, for nuclear ash to settle and start clearing away. I mean, that's honestly probably about right.
Mhm.
I didn't when that number came up, I never even questioned that because it takes a while,
Right.
and even after a year, it's still not gonna be quote unquote safe,
A
not
year. I I didn't, like, even think anything about the year that she had written down. It
Mhm.
didn't faze me, but to my own self, I know I would be, like, feeling a little claustrophobic in there after several months.
And I get that, and I probably would too. But at the same time, I mean, the fact is again, they don't have a Geiger counter. They don't know
Yeah,
exactly how close they were, but they were really close to at least one of the explosions.
I
I mean, it
know.
was enough that the blast came through and hit what's her name? Dakota.
Yeah, so for that matter alone, you'd think you wanna stay down there as long as you possibly can, just to
Exactly.
be sure.
I mean, they don't have I mean, they have gas masks. I don't know how they have gas masks, weirdly.
May Maybe Teddy had him down there already.
Yeah. Well, he had to have.
Yeah,
But as far as, like radiation suits or anything, she's basically using, rain gear, you
right,
know? And I mean, while it will offer some protection, because you don't want the ash to get on your skin and stuff, it's not going to save you from heavy radiation. And as a nurse, she had to have known,
right,
that there's some I mean, iodine pills would have helped, but I don't even know if there was any iodine down there.
right.
It's not like
She could
people
have
carry it.
simply told, Dory Senior, she could have simply told him, "You know what? Yeah, I don't know the exact amount of days, but I know we need to be down here as long as we possibly can. So
Yeah.
seemed like a good start."
Yeah.
Instead of like tripping all over the place, like just acting like she's just an outright liar, which it technically was a lie, but it wasn't nonsensical.
Right, I mean, it was a reasonable lie, and I mean, and honestly, if I knew that it was a nuclear hellscape above my head and how close they were to one of the explosions, and I saw all that food, I'd basically say, "I'm sitting my happy ass down here until we have, maybe a week's left of food left, and then we can leave,
Right,
whenever that is."
right. That's the
Because
smart thing.
because basically you really can't carry more than a week's worth of food, and by that I mean, with all the food stores they had, by that time, it should at least be moderately safe, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, radiation it's really nothing to mess with.
Mm-mm.
It's just
It's not.
not.
Yeah,
And it's
but
silent. I mean, it's not like it's, that it's one of those things that it's cumulative, so it has a slow buildup, but once that heavy radiation gets into your system, you're not you're not getting rid of it. It's a heavy metal that stays in you, you
and
know?
John Dory knows this, you know what I'm saying? He knows, like, most people don't may not know the ins and out and the technicalities of irradiation, but they know I will fucking go out there and it will destroy me.
Yeah.
Most people know that at bare bones.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's like, I don't care, I'm going out there. She June was right. She should have stabbed him with that syringe probably hours ago, or I don't know how
Mhm.
long, however many days that was.
It was about 2 sleeps, I think is
Yes. So when she first got him to admit that he was in withdrawal, that's when she should have put his ass out. But then there'd be
yeah,
no story, right?
right. And I mean, so and like I said, so when those people first showed up, I wasn't sure if they were part of his delusion or not because again, you know, but I kind of find it interesting. He's been sending out these broadcasts, "Hey, we're here, we're here, we're here." And then they freak out the first time someone tries to get in there. You know,
Yeah.
like what did you expect?
Right. And that is confusing to me because yes, they were covered in gear, but wouldn't you expect them to be? So that shouldn't
Mhm.
have been alarming to you.
Mhm.
That's so weird.
I
They
mean,
probably shouldn't have been putting the call out, period.
well, they shouldn't have been giving their location. He was giving the location.
Yeah,
Anyone out there? And these people responded. Now, we think they're bad guys, but the fact is we don't know anything about them. Nothing.
true.
They respond. He was giving out his location. They responded. Now, considering how aggressively they were trying to get in there, okay, that probably goes towards probably not great people. But they could have just been hungry people too. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
hungry people that will kill you and take the food.
Yeah. Then again, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say it, but again, it's one of those things that since he was giving his location, he had to assume somebody was going to show up.
Mhm.
Now, I know his preference would have been someone like Morgan, but the fact is, it could have been anyone, and it was anyone.
Right.
And but the fact that they were freaking out and here's the thing, if they had initially let them in, who knows? Maybe they would just have been grateful to have, someplace to be. They found the second bus. They could have made accommodations.
Yeah. I
There
doubt
was
it
plenty of
though.
food. There was food for years in there.
Yeah. I
Um,
somehow doubt it, but I get what you're saying because they wouldn't know unless they actually open the doors to them.
exactly. There's absolutely no way of knowing.
Right.
And again, I mean, hunger
Yeah.
can push people to irrational thought. If you're starving and the only thing that's between you and food is a door,
You're
you
gonna bust it
know,
down.
right. If you know that this place is radiation free and, has plenty of food and water, hell yeah, you wanna get in there.
Mhm.
So, I that's why I say, they just as easily if they had just let them in because these people were hungry, and hungry doesn't necessarily mean terrible, it just means desperate. If they had let them in, they could have cohabitated. We don't know. Of course, this is
Mhm.
The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead and everyone's bad. But, I'm just saying.
Right. And then after that, so they found them really quickly. It seems like
Mhm.
pretty quickly. And then right behind that, Strand finds them very
Yep.
quickly after that because they weren't buried for that long. And then right after that, Morgan finds, their location. It's like, what? So after doing this for months, all of a sudden, really quickly, three groups of people find you.
Yeah. And hang on, what is no. Sorry. Hang on. Fine. One of my apps is trying to do something stupid and it won't let me exit out. So, anyway, but, and it does kinda surprise me because 'cause they've been in there, what, 60, 70 days at this point?
Right.
Um, I'm trying to remember the last count. I think it was like 71, I think.
71. Yeah.
And, so, I mean, that's like a little over 2 months. So, I mean, at least some of the radiation would have dispersed, but obviously looking up there, it's still awful. Um, but I guess he's been sending out this signal for almost 2 months. "Hey, we're here." And 3 groups find him within hours or days of each other. It's just
Right. It's just it's weird, right?
yeah. And the other thing that's really kinda wigging me out is the fact that both Morgan and, uh, Strand could both hear him. So either he is, like they were dead center between the 2 of them, or something weird's going on because Strand is far enough away that he's out of the danger zone,
Right.
and Morgan's basically in the thick of it, and, where these people and where, um, Dory and those guys were, was basically ground zero for at least one of them.
Mhm.
So, how does this even work on a map?
Look,
You know?
they don't want you to ask any questions. Go along with it. That's what they want you to do. I don't know. It would be nice to show us a map again. I mean, we got to see Padre, right? So maybe they could show us again, like where all the groups are now. Like, where's
Yeah.
Morgan? Where were June and Dory? Where is Strand and his team? Just show
Mhm.
us real fast. Again, they could do it if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could. So, yeah, it's that part is really kind of screwing with me. I mean, now granted, if it was Strand and his people, they were either on horses or on a vehicle, and Morgan's on foot. So it would take Morgan longer to get there, but Morgan won't go out for more than 6 hours.
Right? So it's less than 6 hours
It's less than 3.
walk. Oh yeah, because he has to get back too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, he can't be more than 3 hours walking distance, and honestly, that's not that far.
Yeah, it's not, especially if you're walking at a really good stride. It's not that
Mhm.
far.
You know,
Huh.
so, I mean, I guess Morgan could have thought, "I can do 6, because I can shelter there," but that Morgan seemed to feel that at that time that they were in trouble.
Mhm.
So, I don't think he would have assumed 6 hours, it would have only been 3. He might have pushed it a little bit, but Morgan's not gonna push it much more than that because he knows, because the baby's depending on him, because, Grace is depending on him.
Right.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, that's just odd, and the fact that
It
even they
is.
they found him. He must have had a
Yeah.
map, you know? There must have been a map somewhere.
Weird, because I mean, with everything destroyed and
Mhm.
then, everything just looking dust covered, how do you know exactly where to go? Like, wouldn't you be turned around or not seeing landmarks that you think you should see?
Well, I mean, it was right there at the edge of, like, a gully, you know? I mean, it was there on a lookout of
Yeah, but you have to find it. Like, how
Yeah, I know.
so you come
I
out and you go, "Which way do I go?"
I mean, and Dory was giving in directions, but even he was saying, "I think we are no more than,
Right.
I think this is where we're at." So I mean,
Right.
that's a lot of ifs and maybes. So, and but like I said, it would have had to wherever they are, they'd almost have to be halfway between, Morgan and Strand's people, more or less.
Right.
And just because even if Strand's on horseback or in a vehicle, there's still, you know, travel time. And while they got there
Right.
faster, it wasn't a whole lot faster.
Mm-mm.
So,
Hmm. I don't know. I did overall though, I liked the episode even with its, little quirks.
oh
I
yeah.
thought it was I don't know, I like those 2 on screen together,
Mhm.
They're
I do
fun.
too. I
They
do
really
too.
play off each other well. Yeah. And now I like kinda that they got with Strand. I mean, because 'cause they're like, they don't wanna be with him, Like, "Hey,
Mhm.
you did this. Why do we don't wanna be here." Like,
Oh
"You think
yeah.
we're
I
gonna
mean,
forgive you? No."
I gotta tell you, I was really it was interesting to watch the different reactions between how June was acting about them being there with Strand and Dory's reaction. Because June was like, "You know, it's not that bad." And
I
then we've got
know.
Dory going, "Are you kidding me? We're staying here with this guy after what he did?"
Yeah.
Well,
Well, don't forget though, June has had 2 days to settle into it.
yeah. And
He was
I
asleep.
right. And I get that, but,
Yeah.
here's the thing, I don't think June would have fought it very hard at all.
She's a weakling. She's like a weak person, and
And
she
well,
always has been.
she's never had a personal issue with Strand, you know what I mean? And
Yes, but I just don't feel like she's a person who just has like this, I guess, gauge to stand up for
right.
morality and things that are right. She
Yeah, no,
doesn't like have that.
no, June doesn't have that. Um, I mean, when she was with John, she tried for John. John was her moral compass.
Mhm.
And I think if he had been there, if he had said, We're not staying," she would have been, "You're right, we're not staying," with conviction. Um, but, even when they were being held by, Virginia, it turns out she really wasn't fighting it.
Yeah.
And then when she had a chance to kill Virginia, she chose not to, which I thought was just a dumbass move.
Yeah. She just goes along. Her character always has.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the dynamic is gonna be a little bit interesting to see because Dory's pretty much no, we're not doing this, not with him, because
Right.
he has a very, very strong moral code. It's skewed at times, but it's very much there.
Mhm.
And of course, when they're looking down and they're seeing all the dead, it's gonna be kind of hard to leave. Well, there's got to be a
Yeah.
way to leave because people are getting in and out of there. They
Oh
got in
yeah.
there. She would have seen how they got in.
No.
You
They
know,
got in without anyone getting scratched or bitten.
Yeah, so, I
So,
mean, my guess is underground parking lot that, that they can leave from or something,
it's some
and
little trick that Strand has up his sleeve that most people don't know about that building.
yeah, but, I mean, again, she was there when they got in, so, I mean, I guess he
Yeah.
coulda put a hood over her head or something, but even still, if they got in, they obviously can leave, and if Strand's people can leave, there's a way to do it safely, or moderately safely anyway.
Yeah. I am curious to see what happens like going forward with those 2 because now that, Dory Sr. has like found peace with that missing woman, they found
Mhm.
her in the wall. He's found peace with that. He can finally let that stuff go
Yeah,
and
and
move
move on.
forward. So, what's he going to be like when he has nothing from the past dragging him back?
Right. Yeah, and we already know, I mean, he has personal issues with Strand, you know,
Mhm.
and, and again, he knows what Strand did in the submarine. He knows that Strand is at least partially responsible for, the bombs going off.
Yep.
And, and Dory being Dory, I don't think he will settle there. He might stay there for a while, but he won't settle into it. You know what I mean?
Mhm. So you think he'll end up like leaving June there?
I don't know. I'm
Mm.
not sure. I mean, it's on that one, I don't think he would want to leave June, but if he knew June was at least safe there, he probably wouldn't fight her too much, to come with him.
Mhm.
Um, because I think, after this time, I think he does realize what kind of person June is. She's not a bad person. She's just not a good person, you know?
I think June is like a lot of people. I think more people are like her than not in this type of world.
Yeah, so I mean, will she stand up against something that is remonstrably wrong? Yeah,
Mhm.
but, standing up to Strand and going, "We're not staying here because you're a bad person," when it's a decent place, or at least it seems to be right now, nah.
Right.
It's clean, they've got food, they've got water, they've got
She's gonna
air.
stay and eat her strawberries.
Yeah, because, I mean, she was just as content to stay underground.
Yeah,
She didn't wanna be out in the world, and they're out of the underground, but she's still not out in the world, and Strand doesn't even really want the people to go out in the world except for, a select few. I
right.
think she will be perfectly happy to stay there and just exist.
See? Oh, yeah, 100%. In June's mind, she's leveled up as far as living circumstances, and
Oh,
she's
yeah.
fine with it.
I mean, she's not out in the world, she's not having to struggle with the dead
Mhm,
or, any of those other things that they were dealing with, and, things seem pretty pleasant, it's bright,
mhm.
it's airy, it's sunshiny, there's no radiation, and they've got fresh strawberries.
Exactly.
And booze.
Yes,
So,
and Bruce.
it's
Which Dory turned down, by the way, and then
yeah, I
he's later
know.
like, "Oh, I wish I had drank that."
I gotta tell you, I kinda giggled when I saw that. I turned to my boyfriend, I'm like, "That's right, give the alcoholic you know, a drink." And the thing of it is June would have told him that he was an alcoholic, that he was going through withdrawal. That's why he was out for 3 days.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they may have when after they got drug out, they she may have said, "Drug him so that he can get through this,"
Oh, yeah,
which is
totally.
which is why he slept for 3 days.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think his sleeping for that length of time was accidental. I think they knocked him out.
That wouldn't have been the worst thing ever. Actually, it was a favor to him. Who wants to walk
Yeah.
around going through withdrawal?
Exactly, especially, in that world. So yeah,
Right.
I really think that they probably just they knocked his ass out for 3 days
Yeah,
and, um, and let him work through the withdrawal. When the shaking and everything else stopped, I think, like, "Okay, we can let him wake up now." But
right.
again, Strand would have known, which means he deliberately offered him a glass to see what he would do.
And the funny thing is Strand is so weird about things. Had he taken the glass and it was a test, he would have said, "Oh, you can't stay. Bye."
Yeah, he may have,
Yeah.
so I did find the exchange between him and Morgan interesting.
Huh. How so?
Well, because because when Strand's like, "I'm getting all these people, and they're all safe," and Morgan's like, "Good,"
Yeah.
you know?
He's like, "Good, fabulous. As long as you don't do anything shady, we're good. Do what
Yeah,
you do." Yeah.
and Morgan kept I mean, and honestly, I think that reaction actually pissed Strand off more, because Strand wants Morgan to be angry. He wants Morgan to feel, you know, powerless, and Morgan's like, "I don't care. As long as the people are safe, that's all that matters to me. It doesn't matter if they're with me or with you, as long as they're safe." And Strand's like, "Oh, I got him and you didn't. Ha 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 ha." And so yeah, I
Which is
that's
dumb. Like,
yeah,
again, like what we talked about last week, like, Strand, you're trying to prove all this and look a certain way, and Morgan gives 2 shits about that stuff.
yeah. Morgan didn't want to be the leader at all.
No, he didn't. He fought being the leader for a long time.
He really did.
Yeah,
And so in to him, it's never been about who's in charge. It's always been about how to keep people safe. That's always what it's been about, how to keep people safe.
right.
And he's never fought, someone else being in charge if as long as they had the good of the group, at the forefront. He's only fought it when it was done for selfish reasons.
Mhm.
When people were getting hurt because of it. If Virginia hadn't have been such a nutcase and had been treating her people well, Morgan would have gladly moved his group in with hers.
He
Because it did
totally would.
it did offer safety. There is safety in numbers and they were rebuilding. And, if she had not have been such a dictator wannabe, he would have been perfectly fine with it. It was
Yeah,
just the fact that, she was terrible and hurting them and more than willing to kill whoever she wanted, to get her way. And that's when and Morgan's like, "No, we can't do this." But
right.
even then, in the end, when he thought his people were going to die, he conceded to her, on the, "Just keep my people safe." That was always first and foremost in his head. It wasn't about him being in charge. He didn't even care if he went with them or not, as long
Right.
as everyone else was safe. And
Right.
that's something Strand does not understand.
No, and because he's so conceited and self-absorbed, he has his own like issues to figure out. That's why he can't even see the forest for the trees. Like
Mhm.
Morgan is telling you to your own ear, basically, I don't give a care. Just
Yeah.
take care of the people. And he's still, it's a mess.
Yeah, so in Morgan or, and Strand's trying to make Morgan angry, and Morgan finally does, and he's just like, "I'm telling you, Strand, as long as you keep the people safe, I'm fine. But if I find out you're hurting them, I will come for you." And that's, and then Morgan goes, "Oh, look, I'm better than you." You know, you you're not. You're a terrible, terrible person.
And then it seems like he just, like kind of threw down the gauntlet. Like, Strand's like, bring it. Like, what? What are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
what are you saying right now?
Are
You're
you
just
telling me
gonna,
that you are going to torment people to draw me out? Fine, tell
right,
me where you are.
right.
And it also kind of interests me that, you know, Strand brings that huge, lighthouse light in to bring in all the dead, to keep people out, to keep the ones he doesn't want away. Still going out though and gathering up Morgan's people, you know.
Yeah.
And yet he keeps saying, I don't want any past reminders. And then he goes and gets June and um Dory. That doesn't make any sense except for the
Yeah.
fact that his ego won't let him not. He keeps saying he doesn't want, those people. He says he doesn't want any of those or Alicia or anybody to show up. But at the same time he really does. He wants to be able to show them, ha ha ha, I'm better than you.
He
He's
just wants
real.
Morgan to be alone at all costs
Yeah.
so that he has all his people. Even if they don't like him, he don't care.
Yeah.
It's like they're with me, not you. Period.
Strand is like a schoolyard bully, you
Yeah.
know, and he can't understand the fact that Morgan's not concerned with those things.
No.
And Strand's gonna keep trying to push him, but that's not what motivates Morgan.
Mm-mm.
If Morgan knows that, he even tried to get Grace and the baby to go with him, knowing they were going to Strand simply because he wanted them to be safe.
Right.
That should have told Morgan everything or not Morgan, but Strand, everything he needed to know. And yet it still didn't make any impression on him. He's like, "Fine, I'll go get these other people. Ha ha ha, you'll see." No,
It's
it's
like he's obsessed with it. You know what I mean? He's so far. He's kind of like how Dory was with that dead woman.
yeah.
He's so like a dog with a bone. He can't see
Mhm.
anything else but his
And he
goal,
doesn't even
and
have
that's it.
alcoholism to blame it on.
No.
He's just an asshole. And
Yeah.
and he's becoming more of an asshole every episode. I mean,
Yeah.
he's always been, I remember him in first season. He was bad in the first season. And then when I picked back up, he had mellowed. He was selfish still, but he wasn't as terrible of a person.
Mhm.
Um, but he has, as soon as Morgan's group got broke up and split up among Virginia's people, he has slowly slid back into being a terrible person, and honestly, looking at him now, I really think that if he whatever his plan had been for Virginia, because he did have a plan, it wasn't to free people, it wasn't to get their group back together, it was for Strand to simply become the
Take
new
over.
Virginia,
Right.
that was it. Maybe
Mhm.
hand out, a few special favors to his special people, like Alicia, give him some cushy place or a cushy job or whatever. Um, but I don't think it had anything to do with, making things better for everyone. It never did, you
Oh,
know?
it was always about him, always.
Yeah.
Him and only him.
And at that time, I don't think at that time him and Morgan had as big of an issue with each other. But, after Strand got a taste of power because he ended up with a group of people. He got that small taste of power. Um, he couldn't he couldn't tolerate Morgan anymore. Him and Morgan, more and more and more butted heads throughout the entire season. Up
Yeah,
to the confrontation inside the submarine. And even then, Morgan was like, "No, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna go. Then we're gonna do this." And again, Strand just couldn't. He couldn't let Morgan be the hero,
never.
you know? And that's not what Morgan was trying
Yeah.
to do. He was simply trying to save everyone. That wasn't the point. And
That's the
Strand
whole
would
irony of it, like, because everything Morgan does, he ends up being the leader, he ends up being in charge, but that is not his intent, it never is.
No,
It
it
just
never is.
happens. And on the flip side of that, Strand is constantly fighting to be in charge and be the man, and it
Mhm.
never works out quite right
Right.
because he's the
I mean
asshole.
he'll have it for brief periods of time, you know, but, because most you know, power guys do. But he's not actually a good leader, you know? He's very hedonistic, he's very self-centered. It's he's a cult leader. As long as people will follow him, in a cult-like manner, everything's fine. But, he doesn't do well in any other situations, and that's why, when he's in a leadership position, things fall apart eventually for him. He can't hold it
Yeah,
together. Things get wonky around the edges.
and I mean, he kind of leads with the fear tactic more than
Mhm.
anything, especially now. Do you wanna be out there? Look what's out there,
Yep.
So that only lasts for so long before people are, like, over it.
Right. And he's got, people basically bowing and scraping to him at this point, almost literally. When that woman handed him the strawberries, that was almost a curtsy,
Mhm. Yeah, it was
a
close.
"Here you go, sir," holding up the bowl. Yeah, that's something you see, like, from, like, a harem or something, and, Strand loves it. He loves it. He's not, he's all about that.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, I think, there will be some kind of confrontation, some kind of showdown between Morgan and Strand, but it's gonna
Yeah,
be because Strand has becomes so obsessed with this whole thing. He's gonna end up hurting the people that are under his care, and that's gonna force Morgan to do something.
I agree because they set this whole season up to have this big ordeal between the two of them
Mhm,
with, like, the posters and everything. Clearly, the things are going to come to a head at some
mhm.
point. There's going to be some kind of showdown.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we know who's going to win. I mean, unless they try to throw a wrench in the plans, I can't see
I
that.
I don't see them letting Strand win this. I
Yeah.
think it's a foregone gone conclusion that it's gonna be Morgan in the end.
Hmm.
But of course, because the show is what it is, it's gonna be not without its losses, not without its issues, not without, problems,
Of course.
you know?
They're going to make him work for it.
Oh, yeah. He definitely
So,
gonna make him work for it.
mhm.
Alright,
All
are
right,
we
let's
ready?
move on. Yeah, let's
Okay.
move on to the next show, World Beyond.
Nah. Okay. I'm just voicing what everyone's thinking. "Bleh, okay." Although
This was
we did get a cookie. We did get a cookie at the very end.
mm-hmm. We did. We got one right at the end there. And this was episode 5. So, like I said, it's going to be halfway through the season before we see Jadis, and we are halfway through the season.
Mhm. And they did kinda give us a little bit of a hint on what the whole deal with Oklahoma was. Test
What was the
subjects.
hint? Oh,
Test
yeah.
subjects. Apparently,
Mhm.
they killed an entire city so that they could have enough test subjects for whatever it is they're trying to do. And it's not, the, uh, fungi, bacteria, whatever, breaking down the bodies. There's something else. There's some other experiment going on.
Mhm.
some secret experiment even. So, but yeah, they were grabbing those people from Oklahoma to use as test subjects. So I think they let a lot of them die, but I think they rounded up a lot of survivors. I think we're gonna end up finding there's a lot of survivors
Mhm.
somewhere buried in that facility that are there for no other reason than to be used as human guinea pigs.
Ugh, that is so messy.
Mhm.
Well,
But I think I'm kind of beginning to wonder if whatever plan it is they have, and I think it's to somehow control the zombies at this point, or to make them useful, or even maybe turn them partially back into human, you know, or something. What
weaponize them, kind of?
do what?
Weaponize them?
Yeah, weaponize them. But I think what it came down to is they were running low, because they had, like Jadis and others that were sending in, test subjects here, there, and yonder. I think they decided that they needed to accelerate the program. They needed a shit ton of people to do it, and they needed a cover story to explain all the missing people, and I think that's why they destroyed Omaha, so that they could
That
grab
was a
up.
lot of people, though.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the CR isn't exactly, 1, subtle, or 2, caring too much about that they keep it's the big picture,
Right.
kinda thing.
Facts. Yeah, that's true. That's how they are.
Yeah,
I
so I
don't
think
know.
in their mind, whatever their goal is to try and do with these zombies, it was worth the loss of 20,000 people if they could, say, round up 200 of them without anyone asking any questions and use them for test subjects, and there could be more. They could have, you know, gathered up a lot of them. As
Mhm.
these people escaped, and, because they could have had soldiers on the other side of the wall and, been picking up survivors as they came out.
Yeah.
So there could be
Mm.
not the entire city, but there could be a big chunk of it.
Mhm. So what'd you think of their escape plan? I personally, let's
Thought it
get
was
in there.
dumb.
I know, I'm like, that seems like it's not attainable,
No, that was just dumb.
especially because, like, even someone asked, Iris, "Are you sure she's gonna leave?" "Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my sister, she'll leave." "Are you sure about that?"
Well, because she even said, "I can't leave." Hope
Yeah,
said, "I can't leave."
right.
If they had just what they could have done is, "Here's what we're gonna do." She's gotten me out once before. When they're not looking, maybe the 2 of them could have, Huck could once again sneak both her and her dad out, you know? They this plan was just dumb.
It was, like, almost a waste of energy, like, and then the whole thing where Percy goes in as Elton, I'm like, "What is the hell? Like, what
Yeah,
is this?"
you
It's
know?
stupid.
It
I don't
is.
know.
Well, I mean, and their entire plan was, they had this entire plan, it was hinged on, uh, what's his name? Getting a truck and the key.
Yeah, and he did do it, he
I
got
mean,
there.
yeah, he did, and then he got caught,
Yeah,
and now he can try and talk his way out of it, but he better have some dead bodies in the back of that thing.
I know, I'm like, "How did he get caught so fast just hanging out?" I guess some people saw him and wondered, "What the hell are you doing there?"
Mhm.
Kind of thing.
But he could
That
legitimately say, "I thought this is where I was supposed to go."
Mhm.
He could play dumb. I mean, I'd play dumb. I have dead bodies there in the back, and I thought this is where I was supposed to go."
Well, hopefully that's what he does because, um, Iris told him, "Hey, if we don't show up, look out for yourself," right?
Yeah,
"Save yourself." So hopefully he listens and does that and is able to pull it off.
yeah. But, I mean, this whole plan was just rickety at best. It was
Yeah,
based on a lot of assumptions that everyone was making that r there was no guarantee of. Honestly, they it's not like they had to go right this second.
right.
You know what I mean? They could have
Yeah.
made contact, and with what's his name again? The kid that's
Oh.
working with the
Oh,
dead.
I
Yeah,
know.
him,
It's on the
not
tip of my tongue.
I know. I've got Silas, I got Percy, I've got, anyway, the kid okay, the kid with a giant wrench. Um, they could have given him more time to, be a regular. He could
Mhm.
have done this first run to see.
Silas! That's it.
Okay, Silas.
Silas.
Um, they could have had him, do that run a couple of different times. He could have said, "Hey, I those dead bodies down there, see if he could even get away with it." Run bodies there so that they got used to seeing him there. He could have made 3 or 4 runs like that, you know? And then they could have gone, "Oh, okay," you know? But here's the thing, they all know that these guys are all connected, the CR does. They know who these
Yeah,
kids are.
they're not dumb.
They're not dumb. So the fact that, we've got, uh, Iris showing up with her little band and then Silas showing up in the truck, don't tell me they're not gonna, connect some dots there.
Right.
But again, if Silas had gone back and forth, 4, 6 4, 6 times, because if he had been let to do that once, they're gonna let him do it again.
He just needs to show himself as trustworthy, and then he would
Exactly,
have more flexibility to do something else.
exactly.
Yeah.
He coulda they could have figured out a better plan. This was a terrible plan. A terrible plan.
It was all too rushed. Like, they really wanted to get them out now, and I'm like, "Why? They've been in there this whole time, like, what is so urgent about now, today?"
Right. Why does it have to be right this second? And there's no
Right.
reason for it, other than the fact that they're running out of episodes and they have drug this out forever.
Forever, yes.
And now they're trying to get it kickstarted, I guess, And so yeah, I think from here on everything is going to feel very rushed and contrived. Not that things hadn't been feeling contrived before, but now it's really going to be ramped up.
Because now they're trying to tick the boxes with 5 episodes left.
Mhm.
Like, "Hurry, hurry, hurry, we gotta make these things happen."
Yeah. And then, of course, their dad was gonna go and tell the spy,
Of course, his
"She's
girlfriend.
yeah, the one person we can trust here." "No, you can't. No, you can't."
Just
Yeah.
wait till he finds out who she really is. He's gonna feel like the biggest dummy.
Yeah. And I think, he's gonna be as smart as he is on his subjects of expertise, he is not what I would call a people person. I don't think he can read people very well.
Honestly, most men can't if you're doing things with them, if you know what I mean. They can't see the forest for the trees either.
Yeah.
If
So
you're keeping them entertained and, "Oh, yeah, she loves me. Oh, yeah," doing stuff. He
mhm.
not worried about her doing anything else.
Yeah.
He's whipped.
And then, of course, then we've got Huck, who's starting to get her suspicions, and then she
Oh,
finds
she's
out
got him
and
full
she's
on. She's
got him.
got him. Yeah.
Well, and she's got that huge list of people, which again makes me believe that that list of people are the ones that the CR collected and brought back,
Mhm.
not the dead. I think those are the
Mhm.
ones they took.
Yeah. She
And
said this is a list of test subjects or
test
whatever.
subjects. Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think they were living, at the time that they were snatched up as far as test subject, because the dead's everywhere. They can get any kind of dead person they want.
Right.
Um, that's not an issue. It's actually finding, live test subjects. So I think those 4, 6 pages of people, um, I think those are the live test subjects they gathered up from Oklahoma and brought back to be experimented on.
And I think her interrupting, Dr. Bennett before he could open the door and tell his girlfriend
Mhm.
is what's going to save them because he's going to have a new directive all of a sudden. He's going to be
Yeah,
like, "We can't leave. I can't leave."
right. And here's the thing, I think that the rest of them will agree with that too. We have to find out
Mhm.
where these people are.
Mhm.
So hopefully Silas is not, gonna get too butthurt over the whole thing, that they let him go back and he can just play dumb,
Right.
and
Well, if he has some of the bodies in the back, he might be able to pull it off.
yeah, so and apparently, I mean, because the guy told him, he's like, "You need to be back here by 3," and they wanted him there by 2, which
Mhm.
means technically filling up those bodies and getting there and back by 3, I think is doable.
Mhm.
So hopefully he did load up some dead bodies.
Right.
And, so he at least could have that excuse. And,
Mm.
but, but then, let's talk about the moment of glory here. Jada shows up.
Oh my god. I'm like, "Oh, she's under there. It's Jadis."
Mhm. And, and she's like, "Oh, you're not gonna be reporting to what's her name? She's out of here. You're gonna be reporting to me now." So,
Which is weird. So is she just gone from the show until whenever or what? Like,
I don't know. Well, and according to the previews for next week, Jadis and Huck have a history.
oh, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and kind of a long history too, because, Jadis was saying we need to catch up and, call
Oh
me.
Lord. I wonder if it's one of those we used to be best friends history.
I don't know. I'd almost expect her to be your girlfriend at this point.
Oh, that
You can see
too.
it, right?
Yeah, I could see it.
I can see it.
She's
So yeah, I am kind of interested to see what happens next weekend, or yeah, next episode, because at least Jadis is gonna be in it.
mhm. Yeah, and it better be more than like 2 minutes of screen time. I'm telling you.
I think it will be, because I mean, I could be wrong, because previews are always deceptive, but they may, since she's made it clear that, she's gonna be there for a little while and she's in charge of the secret program, and she wants to get caught up with Huck. I think she's gonna have more than a minute or 2 online or on screen.
Now, what I am curious about is when Dr. Bennett approaches his girlfriend, aka the spy, about what he believes is going on. Is she going to try to rat him out or will she have a change of heart and want to help
Okay,
and tell what
if
she
we're in the
knows?
real world, she's gonna rat
Yeah.
him out.
Yeah.
She's invested. This being the show, who knows? People are doing all sorts of stupid things for not good reasons all over the place. You can't even you just I mean, there's no way to accurately predict anyone's behavior on here, because everyone is acting weird all the time.
Yeah, they are.
You know, at the very end of last season, all these kids are like, "We can't kill the walkers, not unless we absolutely have to." Now Iris is out there killing them left and right, shoving them, knife to
That
the
first
head.
scene, they're all killing them like
Yeah,
video games, rock stars now. They're just like, pew, pew, knocking them
yeah.
out. Like, okay.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, even what's his name? They gave him an axe, and you know, he doesn't even have his corduroy armor on anymore.
Yeah.
And but, I am kind of curious to see what happens for those that were left behind, for Will and, what is his name? Uh, you
Elton,
Alton, yeah. So
the real one.
what are they gonna do? You know,
I
they're
don't know.
stuck
They're
on the
gonna wait
outside.
until the team shows back up and be like, "Oh, change of plans."
Now I do remember, they were talking about, they have the medicine that comes there to the village, they can use that as a drop box, but of course they have to get to it.
Mhm.
Which again was always a big if. I mean, they don't even know where it's being packaged or shipped from or anything else. They're just making
Right.
assumptions. Um, but I'm gonna say, since that was brought up, there's probably gonna be a note in there, change of plans.
Oh, yeah.
So that's gonna be
Mm.
my guess.
That would be the quickest way for them to get a note to them because they said, "Oh, isn't the drop tomorrow?" or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
So that would
Wednesday.
make the most sense, yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Mm,
So anyway, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. You know,
yeah,
at least we got, at least they didn't wait until like the second to last episode to bring Jadis in.
true. I just still I just wanna see the end. I just wanna get to the end of this season and just put it behind me.
And be
Just
done
wanna
with it. Yeah,
yeah, basically. But, I'm rolling with it as long things are starting to get a little interesting.
a
A little bit.
little
Yeah.
bit, which is more than it usually is. So give it that.
Yeah, we can't even, like, really spend too much time trying to break down motives and stuff because, like you said, these characters do whatever, whenever, for the dumbest reasons, so we can't
Hmm.
even have, like, a consistent, conversation on why they're doing what they're doing because it makes no sense anyway, so that's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but
None of it ever makes any sense.
mm-mm.
So you're just and again, I think that's one of the reasons why you and I and most people don't like it. Nothing is
Yeah.
consistent. Their motives, their abilities, their skills, their mindsets, none of it fluctuates
Mhm.
episode by episode. Who's the strong one, who's the leader, who's the weak link, who's whatever. It always changes and it never makes it doesn't make any sense. You just have to roll with it and go, "Okay, they're all
Right.
schizophrenic."
Right.
I mean, that's really where we're at. They're
That's
all
it.
schizophrenic, that's all we got.
This is
So,
one of those real just roll with the story and don't even question it too much type of things. That's the only way I can actually tolerate half of this stuff. Just roll with it because
mhm,
it's gonna be dumb.
yeah, because it is absolutely stupid.
Yeah,
So, here we are.
here we
So,
are again.
again, we're at the end, I believe, don't you
Yeah,
think?
I agree. I think we have reached the end of this conversation.
Alright.
So you guys be sure to follow and subscribe on your app of choice. We will be live again next week.
And you'll be able
So
to jump in on the conversation?
yes, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the notification on YouTube and Facebook. You don't want to
Mhm.
miss it. And we'll see you then. And of course, to those that always listen on the podcast feed, we appreciate you and we'll be here for you next week as well. So take care of yourselves, you guys. And until then, happy viewing. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.